Today we're exploring how information technology impacted eugenics, then and now. First off, what is eugenics? Eugenics is the science of improving human species through inheritance of desirable hereditary traits. It is a set of beliefs and practices that aims to classify certain genetic groups as inferior and others as superior. The idea of breeding out diseases, disabilities, and undesirable characteristics became popular. Many believed that all mental illnesses, criminal tendencies, and even poverty were purely inherited. Eugenics was prevalent during the first half of the 20th century in America, and it resulted in the forced sterilization of thousands of the mentally ill. In 1910, the Eugenics Record Office was founded, where data about a family's genetic traits were collected, and they claimed that immigrants, minorities, and the poor were the most genetically unfit. During this time, propaganda was spread heavily. So, how do the components of eugenics go hand in hand with information technology? The most outrageous eugenics practice involves IBM, a global technology company from America, and Hitler. Hitler and the Nazi Party believed that they were superior because of their genetic makeup. In his book, he refers to non-Aryan races as inferior and says that Germans should do all they can, even genocide, to ensure a pure gene pool. To further this eugenics propaganda, a law was passed that forced sterilization upon individuals with physical and mental disabilities. Unfortunately, innocent Jewish individuals endured the worst on this belief, as camp prisoners endured horrific medical tests and millions were murdered. How does the IBM tie into all this? The IBM aided in all 6 phases of the Holocaust, and the president, Thomas Watson, approved the release of special alphabetizing machines that helped organize the deportation of Polish Jews. These machines read punch cards, which stored information in forms of holes punched in columns and rows as code. These codes reduced prisoners to IBM numbers and organized them into classifications such as whether they were homosexual, antisocial, gypsies, and so on. Additionally, concentration camp codes were used to determine the method of the death of prisoners. Some believe that eugenics were a thing of the past, but it is still indeed relevant.
Today, there are still existing discussions of eugenics that relate to the issues we saw during World War II, as well as new reasons to consider its potential health benefits. In recent years, the United States has seen a rise in the number of alt-right and neo-Nazi groups who cite their dominance to their whiteness and genes. In the past, groups with these shared ideals based their assessment of people solely on appearance. Today, however, these groups are able to use services like Ancestry.com and 23andMe in order to further their claims. Members of groups like the KKK and American Freedom Party check their DNA to verify that they are in fact 100% non-Jewish white European. They are able to utilize advanced information technologies to make the same claims as groups of the 1900s, but this time with more skewed evidence as support. The capacity to test one's genes for the desired DNA is becoming a growing trend in these groups and opened up another place in which they can scrutinize other people. Another area where eugenics is becoming a growing concern is in the testing of embryos for certain characteristics and the possibility of changing them for any number of reasons. With the growing scope of this field, researchers have been able to identify traits like height, intellect, and genetic defects. With advancements like these, there has been a moral discussion of if possible to change an embryo, should we? One side of the argument cites the endless benefits, being able to create a better human who is taller, stronger, and smarter, filling in the gaps where our genes might have let us down. As we approach this level of gene modification, some groups see this as a possibility for human growth and advancement. On the other end, however, some see the manipulation as the same level of eugenics that existed in the 1900s. Looking at people's genes beforehand and choosing desirable traits and getting rid of undesirable ones would emulate some of the beliefs of groups who base their superiority on their genetic makeup. Editing people's DNA to make them as similar as possible would slowly degrade diversity and create a homogeneous society. With the growing technological advancements that allow us to go beyond our physical appearance and look more closely at what makes us unique, people have to be more aware of the implications of the choices we make. The technology of the past and of today are aiding how eugenics functions in society. While in the past it was used to sort and organize certain people to suffer particular consequences, today it is being used to verify one's identity and the possibility of changing that identity.